I think this is going to go much better because now I have Animal Crossing in the background. I always do well when there's Animal Crossing in the background.
It's better with Animal Crossing. I was sitting on the wrong side too.
Yeah, it just throw me off. Yeah, it's not going to work. I got a better vibe now. I did a video for additional thoughts on Dark Twisted Fantasy, and it was just not good. I didn't even listen to it. I when I finished, I stopped recording. And I was like, that sucked. I just deleted it because it didn't. I don't know. It just didn't jive. Sometimes you can feel it. You know, you just get that gut feeling. Yeah.
It's gonna be better.
Yeah, it'll be better. This is gonna be better. The old take two. You know, I will start again with the same joke that I did on the previous one though, which is of all the albums I have heard that are a 6 out of 10. I have to say with certainty that this 6 out of 10 album is at least top 25. At least top 25. All time. Top 25 albums that are 6 out of 10. You don't know that joke, do you? There's a YouTuber, his name's Anthony Fantano. He's been doing music for reviews for like a decade. Very successful. I like him. I don't watch a lot of his stuff because it's all about rating stuff, and I'm not into that. But he did a review for this album, and he gave it a light 6.
A light 6?
Yeah. And the internet has never forgiven him for it. That's okay. He has like millions of dollars, so he's fine.
I was confused when you said that. Apparently I wasn't paying attention the first time around. And so this time, like, what is he talking about?
Usually it's better if you just don't pay attention.
Yeah.
Anyway. Dark Twisted Fantasy. I love this album. I really do. People have been asking me on Discord, okay, what's your top 3 albums right now? And I just keep telling them in no specific order. My top 3 albums are 808s, Late Registration, Eyez, and Dark Twisted Fantasy. Those are my top 3 Kanye albums right now. Don't worry about the math. The math checks out. I checked out the math. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about the math.
Have you only listened to 4?
No, I've listened to more than 4. 6. I've done 6.
Oh.
Yeah. Gorgeous did not grow on me. It did not grow on me. Track 2 with that guitar distorted into that kazoo sound, and then the beat itself it just kind of like bumps along a little bit. It doesn't really do much for me, unfortunately. So those of you who love that opening 3 for the beginning of the album, unfortunately I can't join you in that opinion. The second track just doesn't do anything for me. Man, I'm sorry. I am sorry. Power did grow on me. Dark Fantasy did grow on me quite a bit. Let's see what else was on there. And then when it rolls into All the Lights, from then on, it's just, I love it. Love it. All the Lights. So Appalled. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped over Monster there. Someone left a comment saying, hey, you got to, get on this age-long debate about who had the best verse in Monster. I don't think there's a debate at all. I think Nikki just crushed it by far. I liked Jay's verse. I honestly don't remember Kanye's verse right now off the top of my head, but Nikki crushed it. She crushed it. And one of the things I like so much about her verse is the lyrics are great, but I like what she's doing with her voice. I feel like this is something that is consistently missing from hip hop in the sense that, Denzel did this too. He's moving his voice around. Like he speeds up, he slows down, he gets louder, he tweaks his voice. I like that. Rock does that, and I really like that. Sometimes with Kanye, this album and enjoying this album as much as I am was really a good thing because recently I've been struggling with Kanye a little bit. As I listen to him and I compare him to somebody like MF Doom or Biggie Smalls or even Freddie Gibbs and Denzel, I'm like, when it comes to rapping, Kanye's fine, but I don't think he's the best. So it was really cool to drop into Dark Fantasy and go, oh shit, this is why Kanye's so good. It's not necessarily about that one aspect. He can do all of it. He can rap. He can make production, great beats. He's got a good vision for an album and the theme and sticking to the theme and pushing these ideas through. He really is the whole package in that sense. Kind of lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so Nikki, I think Nikki crushed it. Honestly, I felt like that verse was so good. I want to check out one of her albums. So, if whatever her best album is, or maybe if she's got a couple that are worth listening to, I'd like to check her out because I loved it. I love that verse. That was really good. With So Appalled, some of you were surprised that I liked So Appalled. I thought it was a great capture of, with this album being about fame. Initially, I thought it was about women, and then people said, no, listen to it again and think about women being a metaphor for fame. Having that mindset, and then you drop into So Appalled, and it reminded me of that scene in Scarface where Tony is sitting there with his wife and his brother or his cousin. I can't remember. I need to watch that movie again. It's been a while. And they're all just kind of sitting there, and Tony's a little drunk, and his wife is pissed off, and his cousin or buddy or whatever is kind of pissed. He's like, hey, we got to worry about this thing. And Tony's just like, is this what it was all for? All the shit that we went through, was this what it was for? So we could just sit here with this expensive food that nobody's eating and this expensive wine that nobody wants to drink. Like, is this what it was for? That's the feeling I get from So Appalled. It's just like, it's fucking ridiculous. We've gone through all of that just to get this, and it's fucking ridiculous, That's why I like that one. Devil in a New Dress is still my favorite track. I know. I'm sorry, Runaway fans. I'm sorry. The thing with Runaway and Devil in a New Dress is when you get to the back half of each of those tracks, I like the guitars and what's going on with the sound of the guitars a lot more than what Kanye is doing with his voice and auto-tune at the end of Runaway. Runaway is an amazing song. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I don't like the song. I love that song. But it's just a little too long for me. Just a little too long. If it was like 7 minutes instead of 9 minutes, I think I could really, really, really love that song. I did get into it more as I had more listened. Browse.
Thank you.
Someone left a comment saying, I didn't like it at first either. Like, I felt it was too long, but as I listened to it more, it felt like it got shorter and shorter and shorter. I had that experience to an extent, but then, every now and then I'm listening to it and I'm like, okay, I get it. Let's jump on to the next one. Blame Game. I like Blame Game a lot just because of the sample. I love Avril 14th and Aphex Twin, so it was cool to hear that sample in there. It was cool for me to be familiar with a sample for the first time ever, I think. And then Lost in the World has such an incredible sound, and with it dumping into Who Will Survive in America, my wife brought up this great point. She told me how she likes that song, but she doesn't want to dance to it because she feels guilty because what he's talking about, run away from the light, run for your life. And it's not a happy thing. It's not something to dance to. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. And I thought about that for a while. And I thought, man, I wonder if that was the point of the song. Like, was the point of the song to say in the lyrics, run for your life, run away from the lights, run from the fame, get away from it, go, go, go as fast as you can. But the sound of the song is so good and so saturating, and it just consumes you. And even though you should escape it, you should do everything you can to get away, you can't, and you don't even want to. You want to just dance to it instead. I would not be surprised if that was the intent, but great song. That one's super catchy. That one's been stuck in my head for the last couple of days, man. That's a great jam. And then with the whole thing of Who Will Survive in America, my initial reaction, I was talking about, I thought it was about women, and then people point out, no, listen to it again, and with women being the metaphor for fame.
Why are you hating on women?
Well, that's what he's talking about. Yeah. And then when you get to that poem where he's talking about, all I want is a wife and some children and a home and some food to feed them at night. And basically this idea of, I just want these simple things. And there's other tracks where he's talking about, this will be a beautiful suicide. I'm just going to let it all go. I'll let God decide. To hear all these lines kind of cookie crumbed throughout the album after hearing something like Pinocchio's Story at the end of 808s, I feel like Kanye's just kind of going, fine. Like, I know what I want. I'm not going to get to have it. So I'll just turn into the monster, more or less. And I know that the monster that I was thinking of an initial reaction, it was about fame. It's not so much about him. But I feel like in this album, there are moments where the old Kanye is still just like a little flicker of life. Just every now and then, there's a hint of this person who still wants to have these things like a family and love in his life. But then the rest of it is just him going, fine, this is what I'll be then. And especially with those lines where he's talking about, I've crossed through the limelight and I'll let God decide. It's like he's just saying, this is my fate, that I'm just going to accept it. I'm not even going to fight it anymore. And then that concept threw me into a completely different song, totally unrelated, by a band called Tool. And the song is called Ticks and Leeches. And that song was, it's a very, very heavy song, lots of screaming, and I love it. And the story behind that song is apparently when they were making that album, at the time, they were kind of shifting away from that loud screaming music into stuff that was a little bit more articulate, more complicated, more just challenging musically. But the record company said, oh, no. You got to have a heavy song on there. So they wrote this song called Ticks and Leeches. And the lyrics are, I hope you're choking. I hope you choke. You're sucking me dry. All this other stuff. And it's basically just an FU to the record company, because the singer, he has interviews where he says, I don't want to scream from the rest of my life. I want to grow and evolve as a person. The track itself, though, is really surprising, because when you listen to it, it starts off, it's loud, it's going, it's crazy, and she's screaming, and then it just drops off into this weird, like 2-3 minute interlude where it's really quiet. And there's like these echoey sounds and the guitar's just kind of strumming. And I always thought that portion of the song was their way to just say, screw you. Even though we made a screaming heavy song, we still screwed it up to piss you off. But when I listened to Dark Fantasy and I listened to Kanye talk about his struggle with media and with fame and the limelight and wrestling with these things, I think about ticks and leeches in these outsiders that are sucking him dry, sucking the love out of him, sucking the life out of him, sucking the energy out of him. And then I listen to that song, Ticks and Leeches, and I think about that interlude and how maybe it's not an FU to the record company, but instead it's just him representing a moment of exhaustion. You're just so tired. You're so tired of these ticks and leeches feeding off of you and draining you and sucking you dry. And then what's great is the song ends with him just screaming, sucking me dry, I hope you choke. Check it out, that song if you haven't heard it. But it was really surprising to me that I had to experience an album from hip hop to potentially fully understand a song from rock. And I think there's just something about this album, Dark Twisted Fantasy, and how it plays from top to bottom, and how Kanye has portrayed this battle, this almost his loss of soul, and just being tossed into this machine, and who will survive in America, because even if you survive the women, and then even if you survive the media and you survive the money, there's still America, which is this whole machine that is built on wealth and fame and power and all these crazy mechanics that you just can't escape. That's it. So who will survive in America? Incredibly interesting. A lot of you pushed back on my comment about him talking about, that line against the South Park writers. And I'm glad. I'm very glad, because you guys were right. Kanye does have a sense of humor. I think really what threw me off was that he would even mention them to begin with. And I wondered if Kanye is one of those guys where, he'll crack jokes at other people, but as soon as someone cracks a joke at him, all of a sudden it's not funny, Because I'm never really into that. Like, if you're going to crack jokes, you better be able to take it too. But you guys did a good job of pushing back, saying, hey, no, you've been laughing at his lines for months now. You listen to his music. I found a skit on SNL where he's doing this interview, and during the interview, they keep showing footage of different award ceremonies that he's interrupting. So that was cool to see him, go along with the joke and acknowledge, okay, what happened, and get mad at a little kid for winning the best pumpkin contest when he should have won the best pumpkin contest. So that was cool. I like that. What else is there? Oh, the movie. So we did watch the movie. I actually, my wife and I did a reaction for it for Patreon. I would like to post it to YouTube, but they're just going to block it. They're going to block the audio. They're going to block the visual. So I didn't even bother because I know it's just going to be a headache. But the movie was pretty wild. I liked it quite a bit. A lot of imagery going on there with the Phoenix and the girl, and you know, where they're all sitting at the table and they're like feasting on the bird, which is her, and she's supposed to represent his fame, I suppose. I don't know. It was pretty wild. But my wife pointed out with the ballerinas, because I never understood the ballerinas. Like, what the hell's going on with the ballerinas? She said, well, the ballerinas, you know, what they do when they're dancing is it's really this pursuit of physical perfection through movement. You know, you have to strike the pose just right and hold your wrists and your ankles and your fingers in just the right way. When you move to that position, you have to do it, you know, elegantly and precisely. And that's really what it is. It's just this pursuit of physical perfection. And when she told me that, and then we watched some of the live performances of Runaway, where he has his mixer on a pedestal. So he's doing a live performance of his music where his music is on a pedestal, and he has these people out there who are the embodiment of pursuit of perfection. That was an interesting concept to fold into everything, you know, especially considering where Kanye was at that point in his career with all the shit that happened with Taylor Swift and the George Bush comments. I mean, all that shit that had happened. And now here he is saying, my music is my perfection. Here's what I'm pursuing. I don't know if people really got that. I didn't get it until it was pointed out to me, but that was pretty cool to consider when watching the video, watching live performances, and so on. I think really that's it. Do you have anything you want to throw out there? No? Just Animal Crossing tonight? Yeah. Okay. I am going to do a top 10 Kanye songs so far video. I don't know when I'll post that. I hope you gotta watch 10 first. I can hopefully get to that this weekend. That's kind of my goal. But that's coming soon, so you guys can enjoy that. That'll be fun. And then this Friday will be Wu-Tang for the first time ever. Going to do 36 Chambers. Finally going to get to some Wu-Tang. And since that album is kind of short, I'm going to do a doubleheader again. And I'm going to do Telephone by No Name. And if that sounds completely random, it's because it is completely random. And there is a method to the madness when choosing that. But it's kind of a long, boring story, so I'm not going to share it. And you'll just have to live in wonder as to how that came to be. Yeah. Okay, that was much better than the other one. Take care, y'all. We'll see you on Friday.